Welcome to Relation Tales. Please like this video and subscribe Relation Tales. We're grateful for each and every one of you. Let us know where in the world you're tuning in from. We'd love to hear from you in the comments. Let's begin. The first crack in their marriage didn't appear overnight. It whispered its way in through late-night silences and untouched dinners. Ryan Miller used to think love was unbreakable if you built it on trust. For 11 years, he and his wife, Haley, had shared everything. Morning coffees, inside jokes, the kind of quiet comfort that only years together could build. But lately, something had shifted. The warmth in her eyes had cooled. Her laughter now felt like an act performed for the world, not for him. He'd wake before sunrise, make her coffee the way she liked, oat milk, half a teaspoon of sugar, cinnamon dust, only for it to sit on the counter, untouched. She'd rush out with her hair still damp and her phone clutched like a lifeline. "Big day again?" he'd ask, masking the sting in his tone. She'd flash that polite smile that said nothing. "Always is. Don't wait up, okay?" But he did. Every night. At first, Ryan told himself it was stress. Haley had always been ambitious. She'd work her way up to marketing director at her firm. But ambition didn't explain perfume that wasn't hers on her clothes. It didn't explain why she'd started wearing red lipstick again after years of saying she didn't have time for that kind of thing. And it definitely didn't explain the way she'd go quiet when her phone buzzed during dinner. One night, when she slipped into the shower, Ryan's curiosity finally broke through his restraint. He reached for her phone on the vanity, just for a second. Locked, of course. But a preview flashed across the screen. "See you soon. Same place." No name. Just a message that hit harder than any truth could. He didn't confront her that night. He couldn't. His pride wouldn't let him. Instead, he studied her late-night calls in the kitchen, the way she started dressing sharper for client meetings, and the way she avoided eye contact when she spoke. Ryan wasn't a jealous man by nature, but he'd been around long enough to know when something wasn't adding up. He wasn't looking for drama. He was looking for honesty. But honesty never came. One evening, around 10:45 p.m., Ryan sat on the couch, TV playing quietly in the background, waiting again. When the front door finally opened, Haley stepped in, surprised to see him still awake. "You're still up?" she asked, slipping her purse off her shoulder. "Yeah," he said softly. "I want to talk." Her eyes darted to the clock. "It's late, Ryan. I'm exhausted. Can it wait till morning?" He nodded slowly, his jaw tightening. "Sure, morning." But the morning brought nothing but silence. Again. It was on the fourth night of her late shift that he stopped waiting for her to come clean. He'd made dinner, lit candles, even poured her favorite wine, an olive branch she didn't deserve but that he offered anyway. When his phone vibrated, he knew exactly who it was before even checking. "Working late again tonight. Don't wait up, red heart." The same heart emoji. The same lie wrapped in familiarity. Ryan leaned back in his chair, staring at the flickering candle. He wasn't angry. Not yet. Just hollow. Like the love he'd once known had quietly burned itself out. He typed back casually. "No problem. I actually have dinner plans myself tomorrow. With someone from your office." He didn't send it yet. He stared at the words, at the bait that would unravel every thread she'd been weaving behind his back. Because Ryan had a plan. A patient one. He'd already pieced together the missing puzzle. The hours, the names, the tone in her voice when she mentioned her boss, Darren Cole. He'd seen the way she straightened up when she said his name. He wasn't guessing anymore. He knew. He wouldn't explode. He wouldn't chase. He'd expose. That night, he poured himself a drink and sat in the dim light, eyes fixed on the city outside the window. He remembered their early days, the road trips, the laughter, the way she'd rest her head on his shoulder in traffic. It hurt to think that the same woman who once said, "You're my home," now found comfort somewhere else. But pain could turn into power if you used it right. So, Ryan picked up his phone, found Darren's number from a past company dinner, and made the call. His voice stayed even almost friendly. "Hey Darren, this is Ryan, Haley's husband. I wanted to discuss something work-related over dinner tomorrow. Thought it might be good to connect directly." Darren hesitated, barely half a second, then said, "Sure, Ryan. That sounds good." Ryan smiled faintly. "Great. Levine's at 7. "Perfect," Darren replied. When he hung up, Ryan leaned back and whispered himself, "Let's see how loyal late nights really are." As he set the phone down, a strange calm washed over him. This wasn't just revenge, it was clarity. And the woman who thought she was outsmarting her husband was about to walk straight into her own undoing. Tomorrow night, everything would change. The next morning, Ryan was calm. Too calm. He brewed his coffee like any other day, buttered his toast, and even packed Haley's lunch the way he used to back when things were good. She noticed, of course. She stood by the kitchen counter in a navy skirt and crisp white blouse, phone clutched in one hand, eyes darting to him like she was studying a stranger. "You're in a good mood today," she said cautiously. He smiled faintly. "Try and be." She hesitated, waiting for him to add something else. An accusation, a question, but none came. Instead, he slid her lunch bag across the counter and said, "Long day ahead?" "Yeah," she replied, forcing a laugh. "Back-to-back meetings. Darren's really pushing us on this new campaign." Ryan took a slow sip of his coffee. "He's a hardworking guy, isn't he?" "Yeah," she said quickly, a little too quickly. "He's demanding, but he knows what he's doing." He nodded, eyes never leaving hers. Good to know. When she left for work, he didn't move for several minutes. He just stood there, listening to the silence she left behind, that hollow echo that had replaced their laughter. Then he turned, walked upstairs, and opened his laptop. Ryan wasn't just setting up a dinner. He was preparing a stage. He spent the morning researching. Not gossip, not rumors, just facts. Darren's recent company trips, the hotel bookings, the expense reports. Haley's client weekends had aligned with every single one of them. The evidence was quiet but undeniable. By noon, Ryan had everything he needed. Not to destroy her publicly. That wasn't his style. But to let her feel what she'd made him feel. Powerless. Trapped. Exposed. Around 4 p.m., Haley texted him, "Hey, I might be late again tonight. Don't stay up, okay? Love you, Red Heart." He smiled at his phone, shaking his head slightly. The same emoji. The same act. He typed back, "No worries. I'm grabbing dinner with your boss tonight. Thought I'd get his perspective on your new project." He pressed send. No response. 5 minutes later, his phone buzzed. "Wait, what? What?" He didn't reply. Instead, he got dressed. Dark gray suit, polished shoes, expression calm but unreadable. By the time he reached Levine's, he was the picture of composure. Darren was already there, seated by the window. His smile was friendly, but his eyes carried something uneasy, like a man unsure if he was being congratulated or condemned. "Ryan," he said, standing to shake his hand. "Glad we could do this." "Likewise," Ryan replied smoothly. "Always good to connect with the people who work closely with my wife." They ordered wine, exchanged pleasantries, and talked shop for a bit. But under the surface, there was a hum of tension. Ryan noticed Darren's phone vibrating on the table more than once. Each time, he flipped it over quickly, ignoring it. After a few minutes, Ryan leaned back and said casually, "Haley really speaks highly of you." Darren chuckled nervously. "She's a talented woman. We make a good team." "I'm sure you do," Ryan said, meeting his gaze. "Those long nights must help you bond." Darren's fork froze halfway to his mouth. "Excuse me." "Relax," Ryan said calmly, setting his glass down. "I'm not here to make a scene. I just find it interesting how her late shifts always line up with your client calls. Small world, huh?" The older man's throat tightened. "Ryan, I think there's been a misunderstanding." "Oh, I'm sure there's been one," Ryan interrupted softly. "But not on my part." Darren looked down, shifting uncomfortably. Ryan didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. His calmness was louder than any anger could be. Then Darren's phone buzzed again, louder this time. Ryan's eyes flicked toward it, just as the screen lit up. The preview read, "He texted me about dinner." "What did you say to him?" "I'm freaking out." "Haley." Ryan's lips curled into the faintest smirk. "Tell her I said hi." Darren's face went pale. "Ryan." But Ryan stood up smoothly, buttoning his jacket. "You've already said enough. Enjoy your meal." He left without looking back. The crisp evening air hit his face like a rush of adrenaline. He didn't go home right away. He drove aimlessly through the city, thinking about everything. Every moment she'd looked him in the eye and lied. Every time he believed her when he shouldn't have. Around midnight, his phone started ringing. "Haley." He let go to voicemail. A minute later, a text popped up. "Ryan, please call me. I need to explain." He turned off his phone. The next morning, Haley didn't come home. Instead, his phone lit up again, this time with a number from her office. When he answered, the voice on the other end was shaking. Ryan, it's me. He recognized the sob immediately. Haley. There was silence, then a broken whisper. HR called me in. Darren's wife found out. She sent them the messages. Our messages. They're investigating everything. I'm suspended. Ryan leaned back in his chair, eyes cold, voice steady. I'm sorry to hear that. Must be tough, having your lies catch up that fast. Ryan, please, she choked out. I made a mistake, okay? I didn't mean to. He cut her off. You didn't mean to get caught. The silence stretched between them. On her end, there was nothing but quiet sobs and the sound of a woman realizing the life she'd built on deception was collapsing. Ryan finally said, You know what's funny? I never had to raise my voice. I just let the truth do the talking. And then, before she could respond, he hung up. For the first time in months, he felt at peace. He walked to the kitchen, brewed his coffee, and stood by the window, the same spot where he used to wait for her headlights to appear. The city moved on without her. So did he. But in the stillness of that morning, one thing became clear. Some people only learn the value of loyalty once it's too late. By the time Haley finally came home, 2 days had passed. Ryan was on the porch, quietly repairing an old wooden chair he'd been meaning to fix for months. Something about it felt symbolic, mending what was broken, but no longer the same. He didn't even look up when her car pulled into the driveway. The crunch of gravel under her tires used to make him smile. Now it just felt like noise. She stepped out slowly, shoulders slumped, eyes red and swollen. She'd always been the picture of confidence, heels clicking, perfume lingering in the air. But that day, she looked small, fragile, like someone who'd been stripped of all her illusions. Ryan, she started softly. Her voice cracked on his name. He didn't answer right away. He wiped the sawdust from his hands, set the screwdriver down, and finally looked at her. You're home early. Thought you'd be working late. Her lips trembled. Please don't do that. Do what? He asked calmly. Talk like you don't care. He stood, crossed his arms. Oh, I care. Just not the way I used to. She walked closer, her heels sinking slightly into the damp grass. They fired him, she whispered. Darren. HR called him in yesterday. His wife sent every message we'd exchanged to the board. He lost everything. And now I've been suspended indefinitely. Ryan nodded slowly, eyes unflinching. So you got what you wanted. The excitement, the secret, the risk. Worth it. Her breath hitched. No, it wasn't like that, Ryan. It wasn't about excitement. He cut her off gently but firmly. You just what? Got bored. Needed validation. Wanted to feel seen again. She opened her mouth, then shut it. Tears filled her eyes. I don't even know how it happened. He was just there. He made me feel appreciated. Ryan let out a bitter laugh. Appreciated. Right. You threw away your marriage for attention. That's one way to feel appreciated. She winced like the words were physical blows. You don't understand. Oh, I understand plenty, he said, stepping closer now, voice low and sharp. I understand that while I was working extra hours to help us pay off this house, you were working late somewhere else. I understand that while I was cooking your favorite meals, you were too busy lying to even text me back. And I understand that you looked me in the eyes every morning, told me you loved me, and thought I wouldn't notice the scent of another man's cologne on your clothes. Tears streamed down her face. Ryan, please stop. No, he said coldly. You stopped this. You stopped us when you decided your marriage was less exciting than your office affair. She reached out for his hand, but he stepped back. The rejection made her shoulders collapse. I've already told HR everything, she whispered. They know it was my fault. Darren tried to take the blame, but it doesn't matter. My career is over. I need you. I need something left that's real. Ryan studied her. This woman who once filled his life with warmth, now reduced to tears and desperation. For a moment, part of him wanted to comfort her, to say something kind, something familiar. But he remembered all the nights he'd waited alone, the lies he'd swallowed, the trust she'd shattered. He walked past her, into the house. The air inside still carried faint traces of her perfume, but even that felt dishonest now. She followed him quietly, her heels clicking against the hardwood like echoes of the past. In the living room, she stopped and stared at the open box on the coffee table. Inside were her things, framed photos, letters, small mementos of their life together. The wedding picture that used to hang on the wall was gone. "You're leaving me?" she whispered. Ryan didn't answer immediately. He folded his arms, his voice calm but heavy. "I'm not leaving you. You left first. I'm just catching up." Her tears fell harder now. "Ryan, I'll do anything. Therapy, counseling, whatever it takes. Please, just tell me there's still a chance." He looked at her for a long moment, eyes searching hers, not for guilt, but for truth. And what he saw was fear, not love. Regret, not remorse. "Do you even know what loyalty feels like?" he asked quietly. "Because I live for you, Haley. Every decision I made was for us. And the whole time, you were living a double life with a man who didn't even respect his own wife." She shook her head desperately. "It wasn't about him. It was me. I was insecure. I was stupid. He interrupted, voice flat. "You're right. It was about you." Haley dropped to her knees, sobbing uncontrollably. "Please don't end this. I love you, Ryan. I swear I do. I can fix it." Ryan turned away, his expression unreadable. "Love doesn't need fixing, Haley. Lies do. And we're way past repair." She crawled closer, grabbing the hem of his sleeve. "Please, just tell me what you want me to do. Anything. I can't lose you." He looked down at her, not with anger, but with a hollow calmness that scared her more than shouting ever could. "What I want," he said slowly, "is for you to feel what I felt. The silence, the betrayal, the loneliness. That's the only thing that'll ever make this real for you." Haley's sobs turned into broken gasps. "You're punishing me." "I'm teaching you," he replied quietly. "There's a difference." He gently pried her fingers from his sleeve and stepped back. "You can stay here tonight. Tomorrow, you'll need to find somewhere else." Haley's voice trembled. "Where will you go?" He picked up his keys and wallet. "Somewhere peaceful." When the door closed behind him, she collapsed on the floor, surrounded by memories she'd turned to ashes. The quiet of that house, once filled with warmth, now screamed with everything she destroyed. Meanwhile, Ryan drove toward the coastline, the night air sharp and freeing. He rolled down the window, letting the wind wash through his hair as city lights faded behind him. For the first time in years, he felt something close to peace. The revenge wasn't explosive. It was silent, methodical, the kind that left scars deeper than shouting ever could. He didn't ruin her career. She did that herself. He didn't destroy her home. She did that too. All he did was stop pretending she deserved his forgiveness. The morning after Ryan left, the house felt like a shell of its former self. The walls that once echoed with laughter now carried nothing but silence and regret. Haley sat at the kitchen table, staring at the half-drunk cup of coffee Ryan had left behind. His mug, his chair, the faint scent of his cologne still lingered in the air, haunting her like a memory that refused to fade. Every sound felt louder now. The creak of the floorboards, the ticking clock, her own uneven breathing. She thought about texting him. She even typed a few words. "I'm sorry. Please come home." But she deleted them before hitting send. What would she possibly say that would undo what she'd done? Across town, Ryan was sitting on the hood of his truck, parked near the ocean. The waves crashed rhythmically against the shore, each one pulling away pieces of the bitterness he'd been carrying for months. He wasn't angry anymore. He was just tired. Tired of pretending. Tired of waiting for someone who'd stopped choosing him long ago. He watched the sunrise spread gold across the horizon. For the first time, it didn't hurt to be alone. He realized that peace doesn't come when you forget someone. It comes when you finally remember yourself. A gentle breeze rolled in, and he smiled faintly. Maybe that was what healing looked like, quiet, steady, not loud or dramatic. Just the slow return of self-respect. Back at home, Haley wandered through the empty rooms. Her reflection in the mirror looked like a stranger. Hair unkempt, eyes swollen, a woman stripped of pride and certainty. She thought about all the times she'd chosen ambition over connection, adrenaline over honesty, and how each decision had chipped away at the life she once had. When she opened the closet, the absence of his clothes hit her harder than she expected. There were empty hangers where his shirts used to be. The ring he'd left on the nightstand glimmered faintly in the morning light, the final punctuation mark on a story she had destroyed. She sat on the edge of their bed, clutching it in her palm. "I'm sorry," she whispered to no one, voice cracking. You didn't deserve this. But Ryan wasn't there to hear it. And that was the real punishment. 2 weeks passed before she heard from him again. A short message arrived one morning. I've signed the papers. You'll get them this week. I hope you find peace. No anger. No bitterness. Just closure. Haley cried for hours that day. Not because he'd left, but because he'd learned to let her go with grace. His silence cut deeper than any insult could. It showed her what real strength looked like. The kind that doesn't need revenge, only truth. Ryan spent those weeks rebuilding himself piece by piece. He picked up new projects, spent more time outdoors, reconnected with old friends he'd lost touch with during the chaos of marriage. For the first time in years, he laughed without forcing it. When someone asked about Haley, he simply said, "She made her choices. I made mine." No resentment, just acceptance. Months later, Haley saw him again, by accident, at a small cafe near her new apartment. He looked different, lighter, calmer, more alive. He noticed her too, nodded politely, and smiled. A small, distant smile that said everything words couldn't. In that quiet moment, she understood what she'd truly lost. It wasn't just her husband. It was the version of herself that he believed in, the one she'd thrown away for something shallow and fleeting. As he walked out of the cafe, she watched him disappear into the crowd. No dramatic goodbye, no second chances. Just the final realization that some heartbreaks aren't meant to be fixed. They're meant to teach. And for Ryan, the lesson was simple. Sometimes the best revenge isn't breaking someone. It's rebuilding yourself so beautifully that they'll never recognize the person they betrayed.